So I came to the realization that I play video games since I have memory. Like, I have lucid memories of playing the original Mario Bros. In my brother's Nintendo. You know, the cat bridge that came with Dog Hunt 2. If you are too young, it's that character from Smash. And playing Valkyria Profile on PS1 or Pokemon Red on the Game Boy. And I started to associate different games with their consoles. Like PlayStation being the console that runs Dino Crisis 2 or the N64 running my Zelda games. At some point, my parents decided to buy a PC and they placed it on my room. And well, it was a computer in the early 2000s. I have no idea what the hell to do with it. But one day, as I was running through the house as the sugar monster I was at that time, I saw my brother boot up a game in the PC. I didn't even know that was possible. And in this game, he was controlling an army full of soldiers riding horses, catapults, and a freaking elephant. And needless to say, I was enthralled on what was unraveling on the screen, and I sat down and watched my brother play for a while. That game being Age of Empires 2. Since then, my brain associates PC gaming with the RTS games, or real-time strategy games, and I couldn't get the game out of my head. My brother told me I was too young to understand it, and I mean, I hate to say it, but he was kind of right. The game was difficult. There were a lot of things to have in mind, and you dictated the pace of the game, making me grow desperate and never playing that game again. Years later, and I'm talking years later, like 7 to 8 I guess, I saw my brother playing another RTS game in a laptop this time, the game being StarCraft. That just kept feeding me this narrative that the RTS games were to PC like Mario was to Nintendo. I don't know, that's how my mind worked things out, and it still does to this day. When I picture someone playing in a PC, I just picture them drawing boxes in Age of Empires 2 or StarCraft 1, even though PC has the widest options in games. This time, I was old enough for my brother to actually teach me how the game works, and let me tell you, I was hooked on it. I usually played against my brother from time to time, but the moment this genre, and most specifically StarCraft, became a special game for me was when my brother installed the game in my cousin's PC. And whenever we visit them on vacation, we played a classic brother versus brother tournament, me and my cousin versus his brother and mine. It was so fun and one of my favorite memories I have with my cousins. Sometimes we lost 5 minutes into the match, other times we won after hours of battling. But after a while, we stopped playing the game. And just once or twice we did the same tournament in StarCraft 2 when the game came out. But 3 months ago, me and my cousin started to play StarCraft 2 online more frequently, igniting our love for the game once more. And it unlocked all these memories of playing StarCraft 1 with them so many years ago. And now that I actually have a functional brain and all, I started to dip my feet more and more on the RTS genre. And I became obsessed with the game that pushed me to make this video. This love letter to the RTS games in the form of a YouTube video that I'm about to spit to you. An upcoming game that promises to try making RTS popular again. But hey, you may be asking, how do we got here? So let's go back to the beginning one last time. It was 1989, and as you were playing football with your friends, using stones as goals in the street, and people were experiencing Earthbound for the first time, or the arcade Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles beat 'em up, a new genre was about to be unveiled in the Sega Genesis, that console that your friend had because you were a Nintendo supporter 100%. And when you turned the console on, Herzog Sway started to play. A game where you have control of a ship that could transform into a robot and create infantry to take over all of the enemy bases and conquer the whole map. This will be the first game to give us the base of what the RTS genre will become. Then, Doom 2 will come to the Sega Genesis to polish more aspects about the genre, and making it look more like the RTS we know today. And with this, the genre will start to flourish, with games like Command & Conquer, and of course games like Age of Empires and StarCraft. The games started to gain a lot of traction in highly competitive gamers, but pushed some of the casual players away. And to understand why, we need to talk about how the genre typically works. The base of the RTS games is, you start with typically a small amount of workers, and in some games a base that can be leveled up. With these workers you need to start picking up resources from the world to create more workers and start building different types of, well, buildings, each of them unlocking new units or abilities you can use for the rest of the game. And then using these new abilities and strengths you have unlocked, you need to start expanding to have more presence in the world map and increase your resource income. And here is when one of the reasons casual players started being pushed away from the genre shows. You need to be multitasking the entirety of the game, like 100% of it. Having no rooms for you to just stand back and have a breath, because your enemy is doing the same process as you and at the same time. He's expanding and unlocking units. It's almost like a race to see who becomes stronger faster. You need to scout them up and find the position of your enemy and have enough knowledge of the game to see what your enemy is building and read his strategy for the game. And at the same time, you need to be creating an army to attack or at least to defend yourself while still keeping up with your base production and expansion. Because I have more experience with StarCraft, I'm going to use it as an example. And if you already know about this genre, feel free to expand on whatever I'm saying or correcting me in the comments below. You see, in a typical game of StarCraft, you start by making workers to gain more resources, as I said before, and building a pylon, a supply depot, or a spawning pool, the building that will unlock everything. While doing that, you normally send one of your workers to scout the enemy and see what they are doing. Maybe they are rushing a barracks, in which they'll start to build infantry to go and poke your workers. Killing workers will make you have a slower income in resources. Or maybe your opponent is taking a quick second base to have a faster resource gathering and defend themselves while rushing for an aerial attack. And once you scouted the enemy, you can decide what to do next. Maybe you can send some infantry to poke as well, making them lose time. Or because you know he's going for a more expensive army, you can spend all you have in a cheaper and faster one and try to take it out before he can unlock the stronger and expensive units. Or start building a specific counter to what they are building. Then, while you and your enemy keep expanding, each of you will start to send some troops to start taking down enemy workers, or at least to destroy some units, and then running away, making them expend more in the same amount of units while your army keeps growing, or destroying specific buildings to make them waste time rebuilding them. The goal of both parties being stopping the enemy expansion so their income stops and it can't make more units, letting you easily take over in a fight and taking over all of its bases. Once they are backed into a corner, or you destroy all of their structures, you win. And that is typically an RTS game. Of course, there is more meat around the bone, like units that are considered light or armor units, spellcasting units, and their specific use in battles, differences between units that can attack air or ground units, or both, and knowledge of how to use them or how to protect against them. All of this decision making takes place in a fraction of a second in a game, because you have to be active the whole time. This depth inside the game and the physical task the genre asks of you is what made some people really get into it and start playing it competitively, making awesome showcases of 4D chess that is going inside the players' heads, how fast they react, how fast they can read the situation, and how they take over their opponents. You can see them adapt in mere seconds and break their freaking wrists to divide their armies to catch the enemy, or spellcast at the middle of the fight, while still moving their army in the best way possible to keep them alive for longer. These tournaments and the sheer passion of these games is one of the reasons the global tournaments started and esports as we know it started to take shape. Of course, Evo Moment 37 is a big part of it, but we are talking about RTS right now. Don't make me lose track of what I'm talking, or we could end up talking about the last episode of One Piece, or how underrated Kid Icarus Uprising is, and how it was one of the last times in gaming when someone tried to do something new. Love you, Sakurai? Or how Your Name is a movie about a guy that falls in love with himself in the body of a woman and vice versa, and we don't wanna get lost into that car crash, okay? What was I talking about? Oh, I don't know. RTS games? Oh, right, thanks, bud. RTS games were booming, and it was awesome to see how others approach the design of the genre, like Warcraft, that has hero units. I personally don't like the hero units, but I understand the appeal, and it was good to see not every RTS is a carbon copy of each other. It really was a massive success, and everyone was trying to get better, making the community grow to help each other. You could watch StarCraft tutorials and build orders, best races in Age of Empires, best heroes in Warcraft. The community was really trying to make people get into the game, but then it happened.
Hell, it's about time.
StarCraft 2 released, the father, the mommy, the matriarch of the RTS games. You may not like it, or it may not be your favorite, and it's not perfect. Sheesh, I don't think it's perfect, but it is the perfect RTS experience to this day. It's not as difficult to understand as others, and it has the awesome appeal of having 3 different races that work really different from each other and are designed flawlessly. Just look at these guys. We have the Terran faction that is led by this guy. They are the vanilla experience of an RTS. The builders do the buildings. The shooty guys shoot, and the airships do airship things. What differentiates them from other races in the game is the use of technology, making almost every unit have an upgrade that will pump them up a lot in battle. aside for the upgrades in damage that everyone has. And almost every building has an upgrade too, in which you decide if you wanna make stronger units or just mass produce the weaker ones. Yeah, weak. And we also have the Protoss, led by this guy. They are really stupid. Everything is expensive to build with the Protoss for the fact that the builders don't need to stay in place to build anything. They just go, then go Protoss and keep mining resources. After that, their freaking units are strong as fuck, and they can upgrade their infantry buildings, so instead of training them like any other RTS, training meaning the time it takes for the unit to come out of the buildusi. They just poop them with magic mambo jumbo in 3 seconds, and they can poop a lot of them at the same time, and then shit on you. And that isn't it. You think that will be it, but their air units are the strongest in all of the freaking game. Sure, they are expensive, but if you build, let's say, 10 of those, you win instantly, because they have freaking ships that shoot mini ships that destroy your air and ground units. So you have to make the direct command to your units to attack the ship. That means right clicking it, because if you don't, your units will attack the mini ships like dumbasses, and obviously that's what they want you to do, because while you do that, they keep destroying you with ground units that can attack air and ground. Fucking fuck! Oh, but that isn't it. No. They also have shields. All of their units have an extra shield on top of their life bar, and you can upgrade it and recharge it. Oh my god, did you play Protoss? I'm sorry, but we can't be friends. Why do you hate yourself that much? Why would you do this to yourself? Then there are the Zergs, led by Mommy, and they are designed to be played with mass production in mind. They are insects, and like insects, there needs to be a lot of them and move together to be strong. Their workers, instead of staying put to build or just pooping the building like these fuckers, they become the building. They go where you wanna build, and then they become a pupa that will hatch the building you want. Fucking crazy, right? That's so fucking sick. And instead of having a lot of buildings in which you produce the army, all of them come from your hatchery or your base. You see, your base will spawn these larvae, and you use those larvae to create any units. And you can also hatch a queen that can throw up on your base, I'm not making any of this shit up, and after a while it will make more larvae that you can use to mass produce. So you need to expand quickly with this race to have a lot of hatcheries to start mass producing your army. And also you have to be aware of what you are building, since each building means one less worker. And because everything moves around the hatchery, this is the only race that needs you to evolve your base. Each phase will need specific buildings to unlock the upgrade, and after you evolve your base, you'll gain more units, buildings, and unlock buffs for your army. And also you need to spread your creep around with your queens, since you see, not only do the workers die becoming a building, they also can only build inside this creep thing your hatchery and queens poop. Literally. And this creep gives you an upgrade in speed as well as giving you vision in the map, making this race the cooler looking and hardest to master, in my opinion. But I think this take is well accepted. It's harder to take a grasp on them, but after you have control and knowledge of them, they become the strongest race. And if we see it in the design aspect, I think that is how Blizzard designed the races on purpose. Terran is the common experience. Protoss are easier to use since you don't have to be everywhere all at once with their workers, but you need to have a grasp on the economy of the game to make use of their strong as fuck units. And if you master everything, you now can play as Zerg, almost as a reward. That needs you to be everywhere all at once and understand the economy to know when to expand, how to use your queens, spellcasters, when to mass produce your army, and really how to use every niche unit these weird looking bugs have, making it a really complete and awesome experience. And choosing your race is like picking a Smash main. Everyone knows who you are just by telling them who you main. And that's why if you main any of these, you and I will never be friends. With this, I hope you can understand a little bit more of why everyone got hooked in the wave that was StarCraft. And I mean, there are still a lot of people playing the game. There are channels with daily content and updates for the game to this day. But yeah, the RTS flame kinda went down with all of the esports coming to the scene. For example, an RTS game is harder to pick than CSGO, a free-to-play esports heavy shooter, or Fortnite or League of Legends. They are easier to have a grasp of, they are free, and they have a high skill ceiling, making everyone move to those games. StarCraft isn't dead, as I said, but it isn't as popular as when it came out, or when Age of Empires, Warcraft and Warhammer were the talk of the town. It's a genre that I really like, but it's hard to even make my friends play it. It's a lot to take at the beginning. It's not hard to understand per se, but you won't get the full picture until you play it. And when you play it, you run the risk of getting clapped and not even learn everything you wanted in each match. So it is hard to get into, but I really think it's worth your time. And also, like any other genre out there are people that have no interest in the genre and start saying things like, why would I pay to click on buildings? But there are also people that say, why would I pay to block when talking about fighting games? So, yeah, we can't save them. They are lost in the Fortnite and FIFA spiral, and worst of all, maybe they are into Starfield. But if you like Starfield, like genuinely, I'm afraid you may be missing some neurons, and we can't be friends. RTS games are really rewarding because everything takes time to build and you have to make a lot of choices in that time. When to expand, how to protect yourself, and carefully select your building order. Just looking at your army is rewarding on its own, or when you fill the queue of an infantry building without the game asking you for extra supplies or
Additional pylons.
it feels really fucking good. I hope you get the scope now. I understand that this is not just a click on building simulator, it is more than that. And there's a lot of skill behind the people playing it, and you can play it too. Your hands doesn't need to look like this to be good at the game. These guys are the 1%, but the rest of us have a normal APM or actions per minute, and we can play it just fine, in okay ranks. And I think this is the best time to get into RTS games, because of the reason of the existence of this video. What? You thought I made this video to talk about StarCraft? Pfft, please, that game is dead! I'm here to talk about Stormgate, a game made by ex-StarCraft developers that is trying to rekindle the flame of the RTS games. It is a game that looks really easy to get the grasp of, but of course with a high skill ceiling like any RTS, but it's going to be free to play with awesome servers and has 3 factions like StarCraft. With this Frost Giant, the team behind the game, are trying to make it easier for everyone to get into the genre that we love. We want to welcome new players. We want the community to grow, and Frost Giant is even giving extra attention to the 3v3 ladder so you can get into the game with your friends. And of course, because it's free, a lot of people are going to try it, so you'll be playing against new players too. You will only find crack gamers on high ladders. You can have a great time with your friends, and if you dig it, you can start getting sweaty in the rank ladder by your own. The game looks really promising. It's the gameplay that we all know and love of StarCraft, but with maps more keen to Warcraft, where there are creep camps in the world that you can take to have extra buffs, like movement speed, health regeneration, and trees that you can take down like Age of Empires. But instead of giving you resources, it opens up the map and takes down the fog of war, making it easier for your troops to reach farther places. The factions look really fun. The Vanguard, or the Terran of the game, I'm sorry to be comparing the games like that, but I mean, it's obviously what they wanted to do. They want to attract StarCraft players, but be different enough that when you think of the game, you think of Stormgate, and you wanna keep playing Stormgate instead of just pivoting back to StarCraft. So, Vanguard looks like Terran. They have a lot of mechs and soldiers. They can be upgraded. They have generic units like any RTS, the tanks, the infantry, the airships, and then we have the Infernals, that are somewhat like the Zergs. They have their creep, their units are weaker, but they get extra shields from the creep, and when you get a kill, you can make that dead unit become fiends. Zerling-like units that move really fast that can underwhelm the enemy. And there is a third secret faction that will be revealed, I think closer to the game's early access release. It looks really fun, and simple, and clean. And I can't wait for it to come out and just grind the shit out of it. This game making noise when it did showed that people are still interested in the RTS genre, revealing that there are more games coming, like Zero Space, a game that obviously takes inspiration from StarCraft, but opposite to Stormgate, the gameplay is closer to Warcraft with StarCraft races. And apparently there are going to be more than 3 races, or it appears like that. That's fucking dope. And the units look really cool. The design is magnificent, and there is also that game that the StarCraft multiplayer designer is teasing. This looks like a new golden age for the RTS games. And I hope with this video I can bring some of you to at least try one genre that me, my brother and my cousins are really passionate about. I'm really hyped for this game. The pros that have played it say it's really fun and that they want to keep playing it. And a lot of complaints about the game is that it looks like a mobile game, that it doesn't look like a Unreal Engine 5 game or a game that is coming in 2024. But to that I say, gameplay over graphics. Always! Yo, look how beautiful Starfield is, right? The game fucking sucks! Look how detailed the animations are in Red Dead Redemption 2. That game isn't that good. I'm sorry. Rockstar is overrated. I'm sure I'm going to take a lot of hate for saying this, but it's my opinion. If you like them, play it. I won't be playing them, that's it. And now look at the graphics of Celeste. It's pixel art, right? Graphics that shouldn't be used in 2018, right? It looks like a mobile game, right? Shut up. The game is fucking amazing. Now look at the graphics of Tears of the Kingdom. It's not as detailed as games like Horizon Zero Dawn, but it is still beautiful, and the cel-shaded style make everyone fucking lose their minds when it came out. And it is better in every way to any realistic game out there, so I really don't care about the graphics. Legend Arceus looks like garbage, but it is the best Pokemon game. It is a game that understands what Pokemon is about. But what I care about is design, and I think the character design in Stormgate it's lacking. In that I can agree. Just look at the Hornets or the Headshocks. They look really silly and not good at all. And it is really about how they translate into the game, because they have skilled artists. Look at this! It looks really beautiful in the concept art, but it does not translate to the game, because what looks good on paper doesn't necessarily looks good in game. You need to exaggerate stuff. That's why League of Legends characters look weird from other angles, or Link Between Worlds look like this. You need to play your design strengths to the camera, and they are not doing it in the best way possible. They have okay silhouettes, and like I said, the concept art is S tier, but they need to make them shine in game. And I mean, we are still in beta. They even said how they are going to change the EXO unit to look as strong as they really are in game, so they can still change how the units look. I really feel the passion in the team behind Stormgate, and making it free to play is just a cherry on top. Of course the game is not going to be perfect, hell, there is no perfect game. Maybe Tetris, but whatever. But I mean, StarCraft 2, the daddy, the mommy, the matriarch of the RTS, wasn't perfect when it came out either. It had a lot of problems, which they started to polish with the time. And like the director said, he wants to look back 2 or 3 years after the game comes out to see how much it changed, how different it looked at the beginning. This is a game that can evolve into something wonderful, and I'll be playing it. And I hope my brother and my cousins have fun with it too, so we can make that brother versus brothers tournament again. And I don't know, maybe I'll be playing with some of you, or maybe my friends can get into the RTS train finally. I'm just so excited to see what these RTS games wave do to the genre, and I will love to see a tournament like EVO for just RTS games, where they play Stormgate, Zero Space, Warhammer, Age of Empires, and close everything with StarCraft 1 and StarCraft 2, one of the strongest pillars of the RTS. And with that, we can see the esports grow, because if the game is good, and most importantly, fun, the esports scene will come to life on its own. I'm just excited. I hope you can give this genre a try.
You must construct additional pylons.